let's start. Cool. So আজকে আমরা এখানে একত্রিত হয়েছি because we want to talk about career development in the digital era, right? It's a pretty long sentence, but we'll be breaking down that sentence, talking about what it means and talking about what it means to you specifically, because what I want to be able to do today is give you some new perspective, give you some value that you can take away and apply in your own career or career development, and hopefully yield some good results that you can, send back to me and tell me how, whether it helped you or not, and I'd be really happy to hear from you. So first of all, অনেকে হয়তো আমাকে চেনে, অনেকে হয়তো আমাকে চেনে না, আমি কে এটা একটু description দিয়ে দেই। আমার নাম হচ্ছে সিফাত। I am Sifat. These are some of the brands that I've been associated with, but overall, I am just an enthusiast in teaching. Actually, I think ultimately, no matter what I end up doing, I will gravitate towards the realm of teaching, because teaching is something I love doing. And I've always done it for a very long time, whether it be teaching my cousins and mentoring younger folks, or whether it be teaching a class on some sort of professional skill. I've done that quite a bit. A little bit about my background: I went to University of British Columbia first, then I ended up graduating from University of Surrey in England. I worked with quite a few companies during that time. In fact, I was always really broke while at university, so I ended up working in many places. I think this is my 13th or 14th job. আমি even বসে ক্যালকুলেট করছিলাম, because ইউনিভার্সিটি থাকতে, নট বিকজ আমি অলওয়েজ জব টু জব সুইচ করতাম 2-3 মাস পর, বাট ইউনিভার্সিটি থাকতে আমি একসাথে 2-3-4টা জবও করেছি। 4টা না, 3টা was my max. So that's why I ended up doing a lot of jobs. Not all of them are mentioned here, but I mentioned some of the brands and companies that I've been lucky enough to work with. So you can see Southwestern Advantage. This is actually a company I work with in Canada. এখানে আমি door-to-door sales করতাম. So my career started with selling books door-to-door, which is really interesting because I learned a lot about human communication, evoking emotion, and just basic sales skills that helped me a lot in life. তারপরে I think the most relevant job that I moved on to was IBM in the UK. I worked at the big tech giant for about 1 year and 6 months. 1 year and 4 months, and that was part of a university program. So I hopped around 2 teams, and I did resource management there, and I also was a PMO for a large client sector account, so which is a large government sector account, which meant I did a lot of just learned a lot of hard skills, like a lot of kamla khata jetake bole, which is really fun. And also what IBM did for me was really, it evoked an interest into the tech scene, which I am now proudly part of. During IBM, I also got to work at Wimbledon. So I was actually in Wimbledon during the Wimbledon Tennis Championship 2015, because I was helping the IBM team set up their stuff there. So that was a really cool experience. Earpore I moved on to graduation. I moved on to working for a very short time at a fintech, the insurance technology company called Hubio in Camberley in England. I learned about the insurance world a little bit there and how tech is disrupting it. Sadly, visa পাই নাই, so Bangladesh চলে আসার পর my greatest story, or my greatest successes so far, has been working with Pathao. I was actually one of the founding team members of Pathao, which I'm always really proud to say. And yeah, it was a time of a really good self-discovery, really good, really an environment where I could really push myself, realize a lot of my potential, and also develop myself a lot. So Pathao was everything in that for me. Eventually from Pathao, I moved on to working now at Gojek. So I actually don't live in Dhaka or Bangladesh anymore. I live in Jakarta, Indonesia, where I work with the tech giant Gojek. Gojek is basically a super app. We call ourselves a super app. We do everything that Pathao does, plus 20 other services on a much larger scale. So it's really interesting to be part of this team. Currently, আমি যেটা করছি Gojek is that I'm part of an internal projects team, and we are trying to help build a systematic method with which we can help people at Gojek with their career paths, plan their career paths, and develop the skills they need to do to really stay relevant. So that is actually something that I'll be covering a lot in today's session. But yeah, that's a little, actually quite a broad history about who I am and why I'm here to talk to you about what we are today, right? So that's me. Let's talk about what the digital era actually is, right? So digital era, if I can say digital and digital era, or tech industry right now, what are the first things that come to mind? কি আমাকে বলতে পারবা? So let me get you started. Apps, machine learning, Arki. What are the other things that come to mind? AI, machine learning. What else?
Big data.
Key?
Big data.
বুঝি নাই আবার বলো
Big data.
big data right of course all buzzwords.
MFS.
MFS, mobile financial services. What else?
E-commerce.
E-commerce, nice. What else? E-commerce.
Cloud kitchen.
Cloud kitchen, nice, right? আমাদের বন্ধু বান্ধবরা করছে cloud kitchen. আর কি? Anything else, guys? Cloud kitchens, apps, big data, MFS. You know, I'm gonna throw in one of mine, ride sharing, what we do, like Rashid. Yeah, digital services. So I want you to find the common pattern in it, right? So I don't have to really say much about what the digital era is. You've joined this workshop because you know what the digital era is. And to be honest, that's why the slide only says you know it. But what I want to talk about really is digital. It's evident that we're in the middle of a digital disruption. Things that happened in a different way 10 years ago happen very differently now because of how far technology has come, right? But what does that mean for us, right? For 10, 15 years ago when I was in school, right? What we really talked about was, okay, go graduate school, do well in your O-levels and A-levels, get a job that, you know, you are in some field and work your career up from that. While that is still the case, it hasn't fundamentally changed. What has changed really is what it takes to survive. And today what we're going to talk a lot about is, yes, we'll talk about specific skills and the journeys that you can take, but we'll really talk about the mindset and like what's behind it, right? Things like Pathao, things like Gojek, how they've happened and what kind of mindset have the founders and the key people in the company really cultivated in order to reach success or relative success in this digital era, right? So what is a career in the digital area all about? So career kotha jodi boli, digital era is actually, you know, and I'm going to give you first a very dark definition and then a very positive definition. Dark and depressing jinishta hocche, the digital era is actually making our jobs redundant, believe it or not. So we talked about AI and all this stuff, you know, marketing automation and all the cool things that are happening. They're actually making our jobs redundant. So a McKinsey survey says that 45% of all jobs that, you know, people do right now can be automated with the present state of technology in the world, right? Obviously, and you know, for a little while, but it will be, it is possible, right? If we invest the time and effort into it. Plus, you know, the future of work is really changing. How our parents' generation or even like our boro bhai boner generation approach building their skills has really changed, because when we used to build our skills, we had to go to a specialist school, we had to go to university and really learn. But thanks to this digital era, right? Digital area, digital era, it's very easy for us to learn anything, right? Today, hopefully you guys will learn something, but you can go on Coursera, you can go on Udemy, you can go on LinkedIn Learning, you can watch a few YouTube videos and learn literally anything, you know. Rashid is on the line here today. Rashid has learned a lot of things by himself during his time at Pathao, because, you know, we really promoted that, you know, whatever, and I had a philosophy with my team, you know, before you ask me the answer to a question, Google it, right? Because Google really has all the answers. So a career in the digital era is really about staying relevant, you know, because the skill requirements that people need to really, you know, consistently sustain a career in this environment is all about staying relevant. You learn one thing, 2 years later it's irrelevant, then you got to learn more and more things. So it's really about staying and being relevant, and that's really what a career in this day and age is all about. Number two is constantly investing in yourself, right? This is something that I'm going to come back to over and over again in this workshop, is whatever you don't know right now, or you think you need to know in order to survive your next 6 months to a year, you have to invest yourself in it. Your education, your university education won't really take you that far anymore. So if you've got recruiters on the line, you have to constantly invest yourself in being a better recruiter, being a better interviewer, trying out new methods, and involving more technology in your processes so that you can get better and better, right? Number three, and really important, this is something we talked about a lot at Pathao, is being okay with ambiguity, right? While there is a lot of information around, when you are working in the tech area, you're constantly trying to do something that's not been done before, right? So the mindset really you have to cultivate is being okay with ambiguity, making decisions in times when you don't have the perfect data, the perfect information, but being okay with it as well. And it's really like a muscle that you have to crack, because a lot of people, especially because of our traditional educational system, we learn to always have the answers. যে আমরা একটা কোয়েশ্চেন থাকবে, কোয়েশ্চেনের পিছনে একটা গাইড থাকবে যেখানে আনসার গুলো থাকবে, রাইট? দ্যাটস হাউ গ্রাজুয়েট ইউনিভার্সিটি। আমরা যখন এসএটি পরীক্ষা দিই, we practice on the question sheet and then পিছনে আনসারটা থাকে, আমরা ওখানে ম্যাচ করে দেখি, so you always know whether you're right or not. But